all I'm hearing is that this woman I've gone through all this with isn't doing all she can to make sure we have as much time together as we can. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Amy Robach is reflecting on one of her biggest fears. For years after her stage 2 breast cancer went into remission, the former GMA3 anchor was diligent about getting her biannual blood test done. But as the 51-year-old shares during the March 7th episode of her and TJ Holmes' podcast, all that changed amid the scrutiny over their romance. And after missing her February 2023 appointment over the controversy, she still hasn't been back for testing.
We were going through our hell, and yes, it was the last thing on my mind. I think anyone who has survived this knows that when you go in for the blood work, it's very emotional because you're literally they're looking for tumor markers is what they're looking for. So if the cancer were to come back in the places you don't want it to with breast cancer, bones, liver, lungs, brain, you would think that you'd get a blood test that would show a tumor marker, which means that you would be facing then a terminal yet treatable, but ultimately a terminal cancer.
Amy admits she made excuses even after the coverage around their romance, which made waves as they were both still legally married to other people at the time, subsided.
The fear of that, you get into this mindset, I don't want to know. I'd rather not know. That, ignorance is bliss mentality, as stupid as that is and as illogical as that is, somehow becomes this human trait that I'm now experiencing because I've put it off. And once you keep putting it off, you're like, oh, this feels so good to not have to make a phone call. This feels so good to not have to go get a blood test. I feel normal. I feel like I never had cancer, and that's what I want to feel. And so then somehow I want to wish it into existence, but it's illogical and dumb.
Amy was first diagnosed with cancer while getting a mammogram on air in 2013. And while TJ understands this is her body and health journey, he notes watching as her partner is difficult.
We have gone through a past almost decade together in a lot of ways and been through a lot as friends. You've seen a lot of hell and helped save my life in a lot of ways, I would argue. And all we went through to get to this point, and I have to pause sometimes and catch myself when we're having the conversation because you do talk about it in the way you talk about it. And all I'm hearing is that this woman I've gone through all this with isn't doing all she can to make sure we have as much time together as we can. Does that make sense?
Yes. I appreciate that. I know that means that you truly love and care for me, and I understand where that's coming from.